Hello, my fellow flawless, limitless, sexy, sassy, saucy HBICs. How are you on this lovely morning, afternoon, or evening? How are you all? I hope you're all doing fabulous. I hope you're all choosing to be the versions of yourself that have exactly what you want. I hope you are. If you would like to work with me in any way, shape, or form, all of that information is in the drop box below, as well as my 3 amazing channel memberships that are always a zhuzh, always. I encourage you to look into the VIP Advanced Manifestors group. That's the group where we deep dive everything around manifestation, everything, all perspectives. That group gives you access to all 3 of the channel memberships, as well as the recordings to those memberships. Now, let me dive in. How to incarnate while still being alive. I know that probably sounds crazy, because when we hear that word incarnation, we think of, oh, I must have died and I'm going to incarnate in a different me, a different, maybe even a different person altogether, going from male to female, going into an animal. Who knows? Do you understand that we can incarnate while being alive now? What do you think changing realities is? It's you incarnating into a whole new being, a whole new world, a whole new life, simply by being aware of who you want to be. We are always experiencing a reality or a version of self that we are aware of being. And the amazing thing that we have the ability to do is become aware of a different reality, a parallel reality, a different version of ourselves. And it doesn't have to be difficult. It just needs your attention, you to become aware. So some of us are manifesting specific things, specific persons, people, you know, love relationships, specific people to be in a love relationship with, money, health, blah, blah, blah. Every single thing you're manifesting is taking you to a parallel reality. It is you incarnating while being alive. And it is magical, and it is beautiful, and life can be drastically different than it ever once was, simply by you moving your focus and attention, by getting your awareness eyeballs off of the current reality that you yourself would like to leave, that you would prefer to change. You see, the more focus you put on the version of yourself that you prefer to be, the more attention you give that, from the place of you specifically, consciously choosing that you are stepping into that self, that viewpoint, that new reality. Changing who you are, as in changing the old person, becomes absolutely silly. See, you are the I am. And your awareness is why you're experiencing what you're experiencing. The techniques, in a sense, are just the crap in the middle. They're guides. But for any of you that want to skip through the garbage and just hop to incarnate that new self, to step into a new self by deciding it, all it needs is your awareness, your attention. Which is why how you're still reacting to things in your current reality is letting you know that you're still choosing to observe from your old self, from the old viewpoint. If it feels too woo-woo for you to think that you're hopping out of one self into another, I get it. I get it. Quantum leaping, quantum jumping sounds a little cuckoo. But you can just hop there by consciously she is not excited about this topic at all. By your conscious choice to turn away from the 3D experience per se, And listen, I know some of you probably just had that logical thought like I would have had as my old self. Like, how am I just going to turn my eyes away from reality, Kim? I still got to live and interact with it. Okay, I still got to get up and go to work in the morning, or I still got to do whatever it is that you do. No. I get that. I don't expect you to stop living, incarnating self. I don't expect you to do that. What I expect you to do, or what I suggest you do, is start looking at your current reality from the mindset or the viewpoint of your new self. That new identity, the new you, the new reality. That's how we do it while still living and existing. So in other words, let's say you're manifesting a specific person. And perhaps your specific person is showing up still, the way you see it, still not choosing you, still not wanting the relationship with you. Or maybe you're manifesting money and that money still isn't here. And you react and respond every time you get more and more evidence that it's not changing or it's not working. Don't you understand that every time you respond, you react the same way you would in that other self, in your old self? Every time you do that, you are solidifying yourself to that reality, to that viewpoint. Now, I'm not saying that to tell you you can never have an emotional reaction. I'm saying look at those moments as the perfect tests or the perfect moment to handle them from new self, how new self would think, how new self would interact. And the more often you are practicing stepping into your new self, the more often that you are attempting to see or intending to see reality from the new viewpoint, the new self, reality will have no choice but to change and bring about exactly what you want. So in other words, if your specific person is still showing up like shit and you're still losing your shit, there's no possible way you are your new self. All I mean by that is think about that for a second. What's changed? What has changed? You're still panicking, crying, losing yourself because SP says, I don't want you. You see, you're responding that way because you still believe you are that old self. You are in the old reality. It's what you're aware of. This is why I've said in previous videos that, like, listen, this isn't about judging ourselves. This isn't about beating ourselves up because we still cry. I'm saying that when you kind of step away from that, step away from the circumstance and think about yourself as a different being and seeing yourself, back up, Kim, and seeing the self that was responding and reacting and getting upset as separate from you, and which I know is like the opposite of what we're taught in this community, it might help you conceptualize that, wow, I am still viewing my reality as it hasn't changed or that I haven't changed. That's why I'm responding that way. Do you see what I mean? We're always seeing, experiencing reality from a viewpoint as the observer, as awareness, as consciousness, whatever you want to call it. So if we're still responding and reacting the same, we're still incarnating, inhabiting in the reality we don't want to be in. It's why we are responding a certain way. So try to imagine yourself as separate from the circumstances and ask yourself, how do you think your new self would respond to the same exact thing, the same exact moment of SP saying, I don't want you. I don't want to be in a relationship. I don't want it. how would your new self, how would that parallel reality version of you respond to it? So this isn't you beating yourself up because you may have already responded, emotionally reacted like your old self would. This is about just taking the time to imagine how your new self would have. It's allowing you, when you take that moment to think about how your new self would respond, how your new self would think, you're going there. You're inhabiting her or him, the new self. You're incarnating there, even if it's momentarily. So it might help you to start thinking and observing circumstances like they're tests. They're not really tests. They're not the universe wondering if you really want what you want enough. But if you could view them that way, it might help. It might help to be less upset, triggered, or afraid when things pop up. And things might pop up as you're putting the focus on being new self. And your reaction and response to them is telling you what you're really believing. And again, this isn't about pass or fail. It's about observing so that you can make a new conscious decision, so you can incarnate, inhabit the reality you actually want to be in. When you put the focus on what beliefs are, again, I've got tons of videos talking about beliefs. But when we put the focus on trying to dig down beliefs that we're already aware that we're there as old self, what are you doing? What are we doing in that moment? We're believing in a limit, number one. We're believing in a condition. We're trying to figure reality out instead of using our imagination on the new reality, on the new self. Being aware of what would feel better. Being aware of being the self that's in the reality where he or she is getting what she wants. That feels better. It's because we're experiencing it. We're jumping there. It's about outwitting reality, because you are reality. You're outwitting it. The more we are aware of ourself, the self that we believe we are, as an example, this Kimberly, the more I'm aware of how I'm thinking and feeling and judging and deciding for myself, how I'm responding to things, the less instantly reactive I am, and the less likely I'm going to spend time in a reality I don't want to be in. Again, this is not for us to be perfect. It's never about perfection. This is about how do we speed along some damn results? How do we finally get what we want into reality? That's what this is about. The more we are aware of being who we want to be, the more we are focused on the reality we want to incarnate to or inhabit, the less we are entranced and focused and attached to the reality we want to leave. This isn't about what's the next best technique. This is about how to actually really manifest and hop your ass into the reality you want to be in. So how are you responding to things today? How are you reacting to reality? What is that telling you? Who are you really? Who do you really believe you are? Maybe you're in a mood today where you just don't feel like doing manifestation shit. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Trying to chase after the newest technique is part of the reason why you don't have what you want. I know that sucks to hear, but it's the truth. The more time you're putting on who you want to be and what you want from the place of understanding it's already yours, you really are already that self per se, because you are all the versions of yourself. The more time, linear time, you spend focused on who you want to be, living your life as new self, the faster reality reflects. So on that note, I'll see you tomorrow.